Welcome everyone, online and in person too. Great to have you, and I'll show you those who are online in just 1 minute. My name is Ekin Yashin. I am a professor at this department, but I'm also the director of the Communication Leadership Program. I teach classes in the program. I've taught classes in this room, but our program no longer, the classes I teach no longer fits this room. But I have been with the program now almost close to a decade, teaching classes, but also overseeing operations as well. Um, the purpose of our open house is to give you a sense and to give you kind of an interpersonal opportunity also to talk to us and then ask questions at this phase. I'll tell you all about also upcoming application deadlines as well as the structure of our program. Joining me today, are a number of our students who are in the building as well as in this room. Those of you, again, who are joining us in person and online will be able to hear from not just me, but my associate director, as well as students and one alum, a very recent alum, who will tell you a little bit about their perspectives and experiences in the program. But again, the idea is also so that you can ask questions too. Again, thank you for joining us today. So today, what we'll do is cover what makes our program different, tell you a little bit about the structure of the program, and then also tell you a little bit about our classes, types of courses that we're offering at the moment, as well as talk to our students about how they decided our program and how their journeys are going, so you can get their perspectives too. I'll, at the very end, cover next steps in terms of dates and upcoming application deadlines and other technical matters too. We were thinking that the program would be about 35 to 40 minutes of kind of content, but then afterwards we'll open it to your questions. For those of you in person, so again, we have participants online and in person as well. For those of you who made the trek and came to campus, we have a short reception afterwards and some food in the next room. So we would love it if you join us there, and that will be around 6:57-ish for half an hour, and for you to ask questions one-on-one to us as well. For those of you who are joining online, we have a number of also in-person and online sessions where you can ask us questions and to continue finding out about us too. Those of you online, hello. We're seeing you on our screens, and again, those of you in person too, great to have you. Throughout, those of you in person, what I'm going to do at the end is, again, thank you all for being here, is ask you all to ask questions in the final portion. Those in person can ask them and raise their voice and ask it to us, and I'll direct the questions to different people in the room. For those online, you can share them on via chat, your questions via chat. And I will ask my colleague and our alumni, Matthew Joseph, to read those questions on your behalf. So I'll go one room, one Zoom, if that's okay, at the very end. So as you're here, I wanted to, again, start with kind of giving you a quick overview of why our program now, and a couple kind of general facts about our program and what sets our program different. Again, this is from the perspective of someone who's been the director of the program for 5 years, but I've been teaching in the program, again, for close to a decade. So I've had the wonderful privilege of seeing our program evolve, see our students, see our alumni, see our faculty, and see our program also kind of respond to different work and challenges across that time spent too. So I'll be happy to answer your questions at the end. But again, I just wanted to start with that. So Communication Leadership Program, just very briefly, has been around for over 2 decades. So we're not a new program. We're housed in the Department of Communication. We're a master's degree with 3 tracks, and we'll tell you all about it at the end as well. So 3 different degree track options. And again, for the past over 20 years, we've been working closely with mid-career and early career professionals and kind of crafting their journeys. Some students come to our program to find out what's next for them. But then we also have students who are stably positioned in a particular career and want to advance their careers. We also have people who worked in a particular job for 5 to 10 years and want to move into a new direction. And our program is designed for all of those folks. So Why our master's program? And I'll share with you a few reasons. But again, I will do a more general overview. If you have any specific questions, we'll have time for that. So, one of the things that's interesting, and we'll dive deeper into it when we talk about our classes too, ever since the conception of the program, but over time as well, our program has been really growing in various areas that we kind of claim as being part of communication professions. We bring together actually a really robust professional community who teaches classes in the program, as well as academics like myself who do applied research and applied work with organizations too. But one of the interesting things is the program has been evolving to respond to the very many different things that people can do with communication as the backbone of their careers. And many of our students, well, you'll hear from them too. Thank you again for being here. Actually, customize their experiences to respond to a variety of different interests and different kind of discoveries when they're in the program. So as of the open house, we have 8 specializations. So just to be clear, specializations are areas we offer classes in. And no matter what track you pick, you can take classes in these areas. So this is available to, if you're considering any of the tracks, which I'll talk about, this is kind of like the logic of our curriculum and the structure of our classes. And as you'll see kind of represented in this graph, but just to kind of, from thinking about storytelling to content strategy and user experience, to marketing and branding, to organizational and professional communication, to thinking about ethics, to emerging technologies and trends, we cover a wide spectrum of areas and also career possibilities for our students. So students tend to have a sense of how, they'll craft their journeys when they come to us, but then they have tons of opportunity also either to focus or discover, because again, we try to tailor our journey to a variety of paths. Again, if you want to do, say you work in already in marketing and branding, or you work in a communication role in an organization, and you want to understand your field and think about it further, that's totally fine. But you may also use this program to kind of leverage and explore new areas. I also want to note that we have a number of courses in leadership and community areas too, and they're kind of all encompassing across careers. I teach a number of classes in that domain myself, trying to, again, not only make sense of what you can do and equipping you with skills, but then also thinking through how you can make sense of it and build self-awareness in your practices as you indulge in your journeys and build, or again, launch your careers. Again, we'll dive deeper into this when we talk about our classes as well. On that, and I just gestured to this, we have a holistic approach. So we try to create a program that's non-transactional, and I think it's evidenced by the number of students who are already in the room trying to come and say hi to you. But then we have also students in the room, in the building, who might come down at the end. But we don't want to just offer you classes and call it it. In fact, we're one of the most kind of community-driven programs on campus, in the sense that we try to make sure that you have an holistic understanding of your journey when you're in the program. So whilst we're thinking about these different areas of professions and skills and offer classes in that, we also want to kind of offer you a space, particularly in our required core class. I teach that class, a way for you to articulate and understand some of the emerging skills that are being articulated across sectors, and demystify that for you as well. Again, if you're early career, you'll hear these terms being thrown at you when you're looking at job descriptions: to be a good collaborator, to be a good active listener, or to hone in on your leadership skills. But we're given not so much opportunity actually to understand what each of these components mean. What I'm showing in the screen right now is it's going to be updated. I'm very curious what's going to happen, I think, next summer. But World Economic Forum is one of those platforms that, for example, identify global trends in emerging skills. And I often bring this up in my classes because they often mention things that seem so large, so kind of ambiguous, that it requires us to see practitioners and also examples to understand what these things are, right? We may have possible career aspirations, but also we try to make sure that you understand your careers yourself holistically by also thinking through some of the kind of, again, sought after skills and ways in which we're making sense of ourselves at work and beyond. So that's also embedded in some of our classes, and you'll be able to think about that when in the program. Again, I'm a gesture to this too. When this program was conceived, now over 20 years ago, early 2000s, right? This was around the time that new technologies like internet and social media were just on the rise, and a number of professionals and early career individuals wanted to make sense of that shift. And we've been doing that for now over 20 years. We are very kind of dialed in and tuned into the technological and cultural changes and global changes that surround ourselves when we're doing our work. So we try to also make sure that our students are prepared for that future. And again, that future is complicated, right? But there are a lot of interesting trends and things that we try to make the subject matter of our classes, of our events, of our experiences. So you're thinking with them. So building and sustaining communities online and offline is on the minds of many, right, all around the world, as tools and practices that try to kind of motivate people or engage people using tools of communication, digital tools, but also interpersonal tools too. So thinking about that is very much still a big part of a lot of people, no matter what type of sectors they're in. Leadership practices for future work. We talk a lot, for example, I know Gretchen will mention emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, and a lot of organizations, no matter what sector you're in, I'm in the education sector, you may be in different sectors, imagining careers in different sectors, marketing, communications, UX, all of these sectors and all of these career paths are imagining how to adopt technologies, how to adopt rules, how to make sense of it all. So that's an area we definitely try to also think about. And then thinking about, again, some more, one of these things are maybe things that you're considering as well, engaging with organizations and brands and thinking about their campaigns and how they try to contribute and communicate who they are in a way that resonates with different constituents. And then, of course, in our curriculum, and we'll dive into some examples of it too, we think about storytelling practices. We think about designing and meaningful and inclusive experiences and technologies and tools. We think about how to communicate those. Communication professionals today do the very core essential job of translating what's happening in the world or what's happening across contexts, across constituents, and making it more approachable, more interesting, more engaging. But then also thinking about creating content too. Similar concerns are on the minds of our faculty and students, how to make sense of, right, what we create, creative products from, again, we offer a number of courses like video storytelling and audio storytelling, but we're also trying to kind of make sure that whatever we're creating in our classes are geared towards creating meaningful experiences for audiences, for constituents, across a variety of different contexts. Because again, I just want to reiterate that fact is that our program is cross-sector too. That's very exciting. I get to every year work with a number of people who have careers across different industries. And then when they leave the program too, I get to learn from now a legacy. We have over 1,200 alumni who are working across sectors and around the world too. So we really leverage their experiences in the program as well. Last but not least, of course, here and around the world, we live in a crisis-driven world where there are constant changes. In the 7-8 years that I've been teaching this program and almost 12 years that I've been at the University of Washington, we've kind of navigated so many shifts. And we have also classes that are geared towards making sense of these changes. We respond to those. For example, Gretchen will talk about a couple classes that we created after the pandemic when we realized that communication functions have changed. Likewise with technologies too, People's roles and expectations are ever evolving. We're constantly talking to professionals across fields to understand what they're doing so that we can train you in emerging trends and also thinking about what people are responding to at that moment, so that you're not just thinking about, the world in 2015 and 2020 and 2024 are very different. So we're constantly in tune with that to make sure that we're updating our curriculum and experiences to make sense of the moment. And a fun note is we're an award-winning program in one of the top global universities in the US. Again, our program and our responsive design was awarded with an Outstanding Credit Program Award in 2021. We were the top credit professional program in the whole West region. Again, part of our reason for our award was our responsive curriculum and trying to make sense of the world. And then, of course, those of you who are on campus today, you're probably aware of UW. Maybe you're already at UW or work at UW, but UW is one of the most wonderful campuses I've been to personally. So for those who are not here in person, I hope that you can experience that. And we leverage the resources of the university, and there's tons of collaboration across also departments and centers, depending on what you want to do. So you don't just come to us, but you collaborate within the university context as well. Again, as we're thinking about our program and what makes us unique, we also have a very strong community. I gestured to that as well. You'll hear from some of those community members. But we try to not just, again, create classes and have you just take classes, but we also try to create experiences. We're very much believers in experiential learning, and also kind of cultivating a space where you can be with one another. We have quarterly in-person and online community events, career events. We also have a fantastic student consulting initiatives where our students work with organizations in and outside of Seattle and all around the world and apply their learning. It's kind of like, imagine a lab where you can apply what you're learning, but with actual clients, but with support from faculty. And then we also have a number of programs where our alumni not only offer workshops, but mentor our students too. You get paired with alumni mentors based on your interests. So there are tons of ways where you can be engaged. And again, as I talk to our students and as you ask questions too, I think you'll get a sense of that community spirit and how we kind of connect to one another. But again, throughout the year, there are tons of networking and social events, quarterly social events where all our community, alumni and faculty get together. And then we also have a bunch of community engagement events too, where students engage and do different things together. We go to different conferences around town. We sponsor ourselves some conferences. So from professional experience to the more social ones, where we host also authors who come to Seattle on campus and off campus. You'll have multiple opportunities to engage, not just in your classes. So with that, that's a quick overview. I'll come back, but I want to invite my colleague, our Associate Director, Gretchen Ludwig, to tell you a little bit about some of our classes and curriculum.
Thank you, Akin. Hi, everybody in the room, everybody online. My name is Gretchen Ludwig. I'm the Associate Director in charge of Faculty Affairs and also our curriculum at ComLead. I've been here for about 4 years, so Akin was on. Fun fact, she was in Turkey during the pandemic when I came on, and I didn't know for 3 weeks because I had no idea. We were doing everything on Zoom. And so I was here during the transition back to in-person, which is an interesting transition too. So I have the wonderful job of working with our wonderful instructors. We have a really unique program because our instructors are primarily working professionals. They're in senior positions. They're largely in Seattle, and they teach here because they love teaching here, and they love our students, and they love this content, and they really want to be a part of teaching emerging leaders in communications. And so they are in the forefront of knowledge about what is happening in the field. A lot of them love to work with our students on projects. They love to work, sometimes they invite them into their organizations as internships, and sometimes they even hire our students, which is really amazing when that happens. So I don't know what's on the next slide. Thank you. Our specializations. So let's go back to these. As Akin said, these are a way for us to organize the incredible and varied areas of communications, which is very broad. It's a way for our students to make meaning of their experience and to focus in on an area. Many of our classes cover more than one specialization. Some cover 3. I mean, they're very interdisciplinary. Some of our classes cover emergent tech and storytelling, marketing and storytelling, sometimes UX and marketing. So that is just knowledge that these fields are interdisciplinary. And a lot of times our alumni will go out and start in one sector or one occupation and then pivot to another. And that's why we take a very holistic approach. We don't want our students to lock in too heavily into one specialization because we have so many wonderful classes that we offer, and our instructors would tell you that they've often in their own jobs pivoted as well. We have so many classes. I'm going to give you an example of some classes that we have, just some highlights, but just to let you know, these are just a few. I think in every quarter, we have anywhere between 17 and 24 classes that we offer. We currently work with about 53 affiliate faculty this year, and we have about 70 in our affiliate bench. So it's a wonderful community. Let's talk about just a few of these classes. Our highlights, these are some classes that are that we're offering this winter. And some of them we've offered before, and some we are bringing back. Communications in the Age of AI, taught by Carol Schiller. She's taught copywriting in the past, and she's decided to move on to communications and AI because AI has transformed her business, Rumble Marketing. She understands that AI is knowing how, as humans, to interact and know these tools, how to prompt these tools, understanding workflows as leaders. How is it really going to shape the future, but how do we make responsible, ethical choices in the tools that we use? That's coming up. Engaging interviews is taught by Laura Dalch. She's a consultant and a podcaster. And we teach this class as a core skill in any profession. Knowing how to engage people in interviewing, listen, and respond is a core skill. So it's a pretty popular class. And communication for advocacy, Sejal Parikh is coming back this year to teach this class. Here you're learning persuasive advocacy tactics. And so it's for people who are interested maybe in political realms or how to champion any campaign that you have to engage communities and you have to operate across multiple platforms. Perennial favorites, these are ones that we offer often twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year in terms of crisis communications, which is a core class. Advanced user design, and this just gives you an idea, as we have so many UX classes that build towards these advanced classes. Advanced user design is one where students are working in teams to create, to go through that design process from beginning to end with the client. And we also have a practicum in UX where students are also working on real client, real projects as well. And I'll talk about that in a bit. Crisis comms, we offer that every quarter. That's a core skill. If you're a communicator now, you need to know how to be a crisis communicator because this is the world we're in with a 24-hour news cycle. Digital media branding and marketing is one of our marketing classes. We have many. And this course focuses on how to build let me read it here. So I'm trying to build a brand online or a legacy offline brand taught by Paolo. I don't know if you know here, REI, people are familiar. Do you remember that campaign that happened about 5 years ago where it's like, where instead of going to Black Friday, go outside?
Yeah.
What was it called?
Opt out.
Opt out. So he was in charge of that campaign. So these are the kind of instructors that we have teaching our classes at ComLead. Next. Okay, so a core feature of our classes, not only with our practicum classes that we offer, but our other classes is the opportunity to work with real clients. And that is something our students really value. These are just an example of some of the class projects that we have. Again, Ken talked about the consultancy. these that are outside of the class realm, but these are within the class realm. Multicultural marketing class taught by Hannah Park worked with King County elections on marketing campaign. King County is where Seattle is located to encourage higher voter turnout in the East African community. More recently in the SEO practicum class, students work, which is search engine optimization. They worked with Metamorphic Gear. That was one of many clients in this particular class. A local upcycled fashion brand to increase direct sales on their website through improved search discovery. And finally, this is our most recent project that actually hasn't even happened yet. But students from the Inclusive Design and Product Equity class, students presented their product equity project on Uber in the class. And Chung Lu was at a conference and met the Uber team and said, hey, I've got a project. Are you interested in learning about this? And invited students to give them a presentation. And that's happening in about a week. So that's really recent. So our instructors have those kinds of connections that they bring to our students.
Thank you so much, Gretchen.
done?
Yes,
Okay.
I mean,
Thank
you're
you
not
again.
done. We will have Gretchen here too.
I will be here.
And
I will
we'll
be
have
available.
questions too.
You can talk to me.
Exactly. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Gretchen. Thank you. And again, we're all here. It's just kind of a quick intro to kind of give you a sense of things to think about. We want to focus in about 10, 15 minutes on your questions online and also in person as well. But at this point, I want to invite our students on the panel, Hedy, Gautam, and Sandra, please, if you want to come over here. And Matthew will give you a microphone. If you could use the microphone so that those who are online can hear us. So in this portion of the class, we wanted to kind of give you, again, Gretchen and I work for the program and work with our faculty, but of course, what matters in your future too, possibly being students in this program. So we wanted to bring together a panel of some of our current students and very current alumni. So before I have specific questions for them. They'll also be here when you ask questions too. So I'll direct your questions to either one of us or to our students so that you can hear different perspectives throughout the session as well. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm right behind you, but I'm seeing you.
Hi, can everyone hear me okay? Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
And so what I want to do is, if it's okay to talk with the microphone, just like a 1-minute introduction to your name, your degree, and whatever else you want to share. We'll go one by one. And as you may guess, our panel today is students from different tracks. Or who pursued different tracks, so you can kind of also ask them afterwards too, or during the Q&A about the differences of these different tracks. So Gautam, you have the microphone. Let's start with you.
Awesome. So hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for coming out on this crazy weather day. So a little bit about me. I am from the MCCL track, which is the communication leadership track. And I actually started just around the time of the pandemic. So a lot of my classes, the first few classes that I experienced at ComLead were just entirely, I was sitting back in India and just doing classes in the evening. At least in India, it was early morning actually. And then getting to work with my client, which was in the US. So it was a completely weird schedule I had. And, you know, it was a lot of experiential learning throughout the program, a lot of project-based learning. And I wanted to take a lot of the skills that I picked up in the industry from marketing, and I sort of wanted to take it to the next level. So I was really interested in UX, which is why I wanted to pursue this program. And I think it has a lot of really good UX classes. So right now I just started a new job a couple of weeks ago, and it's in business development. I actually did not expect that I'd be getting into this field. It's a little more like sales and business related. But I feel like a lot of the skills that I learned in ComLead classes have really are already helping me succeed in this job. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from all of you and hearing your questions.
Thank you so much, Gautam. Thank you. Sandra?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sandra. This is my first year in the program. I just started 2 months ago, so very new, but super happy to be here. my background in the last 10 years was in fashion, specifically luxury retail management. I specialize in training and client relations management. In the last 3 years, I was a supervisor at Christian Dior. And in my undergrad, I worked in advertising as a copywriter. The reason why I applied for a comm lead was because I felt like at this point in my life, I needed a new purpose. You could call it probably like quarter life crisis, but I felt like it was time for me to pivot and just finding this program. I felt like it was not to be dramatic, but truly like a calling for me to be here. And I felt that all of the courses that Comly provided, it was incomparable to any other programs that I've done my research on. And not only does it provide very relevant knowledge in the way how we need to work in the current world, but also it's very specific to your needs. And my interest, I was planning on pivoting into more of a in the education space for nonprofit. And I felt that a lot of the courses that this program provided would help me pivot more smoothly into that field. So, and I felt like if I was going to be quitting my job and leaving my family and friends and moving into a new country, like it would only be for CommLead and
Oh.
not any other school. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you.
I'm Haiti. I'm originally from China, and I'm a cohort 23, MCD, track. So before ComLead, I spent 4 years in tech industry, 2 years with TikTok, and another 2 years with a late stage startup. So I've been in a like for-profit technology, heavily fast-paced industry for a very long time, and I was like in the fork of my life trying to pivot. I'm not sure if I should pivot or I should, find some like new purpose of my life, just like Sandra. So I'm decided to go back to school, like, extend some like education and trying to learn something new, especially given the time ChatGPT was just, emerging. And so I just like Gretchen and Akin just said, I love how this program is so versatile and also interdisciplinary. I don't have to give up my previous experience to, specify on a like entirely new area, but also I can, stay ahead in my previous area and also to learn some new skills. So super excited to be here. Happy to take any questions.
Great. Thank you so much. And again, I just want to remind everyone too, if you have questions, to start thinking. In about 5 to 10 minutes, we'll turn to questions. So those online can share them in the chat. I think they may already be sharing those. And then also those of you who are here too will, of course, hear from you as well. So I'm going to ask you all each a question, if that's okay, and then a general question, and I'll try to spend the rest of our time with your questions. So Hidi, I wanted to, since you have the microphone, I wanted to ask you, I know that you're engaged with our consulting initiative. So can you tell us about some interesting projects you worked on during the program, particularly the consulting? And if you want to tell our prospective students what the consulting is and what you're doing as well, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, of course. So in the past 1 year, I've been working on a lot of like cool projects. One was so right now I'm the outreach manager of consulting. We match our students with the mission-driven organizations or local business to help them elevate to tell their story, to elevate their branding, marketing, and efforts, everything about communication. We help them to build a website, to build applications. So it's really a privilege because I have the chance to talk with them. Just last night, I was at this small business resource fair. I get the chance to talk with the local small business owners and also folks from King counties and like International Rescue Committee, which is also one of our clients, and U.S. Bank, folks like them to support local business. So as really amazing and awesome for me because like I said, I've been in profit industry for a very long time. I don't know people would, do so many things for social impact, for just, help other people to live a better life. So it's a really meaningful job for me. And also within the classes, we have a lot of opportunities to work with client or, like Gresham just introduced about UX Studio, you can build your own product. So Sandra and I, we were actually in the principal marketing class, and we get the chance to work with PureTech Scientific. They are chemical manufacturing, a B2B business I never been to, so it's really refreshing. And there are, if you know Ordinary or Drunk Elephant, they are behind them. And so in the UX Studio class, me and my teammate, we basically from the inception to the hi-fi prototype, we did a carpooling services for event goers. So I really enjoyed the whole process because we got to decide where to go, how to shape our product, and design your own things that you think it's important that can bring value to the society. And we also brought this product to Screen Summit to pitch to a lot of judges and students, just like real-time elevator pitches to investors. So it's really fun and a really fun ride, very challenging, and at the same time, you can find what you really loved throughout the whole time. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your very thoughtful answer. Maybe we'll go in row so that Sandra, if that's okay, the next question I'll ask you. You started the program 2 months ago. What has been a highlight for you so far as a newer student?
There has been so many highlights. It was very difficult to narrow it down to just top one, but if I really had to choose, it would have to be from a couple weeks ago. It was actually with Professor Yasin's class. She had coordinated almost like a networking session for her 501 class for the new incoming students. She invited about 30 alums to participate. And what happened was we were grouped in several different rooms in this building, and we were put into groups of 5. And we had about 10 minutes each to kind of not interview, but just kind of interact with the alums and to really ask personalized questions about their journey, their insights, what paths that they've taken, any personal questions. It could be from what did you discover about living in Seattle, or about, oh, do you have any interview tips to impart on? It was a very enlightening experience for me because I really felt the love and the care that this community had fostered, especially not just for the current students, but for the alums to be so willing and passionate to come back and give back to this community. A lot of them attributed their successes to this program. They said that if they had not taken this program, they would not be in the position that they're in now. So they're more than willing to come back and help the students. And many of them, they've, said, please reach out on LinkedIn. I'd love to, help you guys. Or if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to ask me for a coffee chat, informational interview. Personally, after that experience, I reached out to one alum and he connected me with another alum, and I also messaged him for course help when, finding the right courses for my next quarter. So it's a very supportive environment where you feel that you can take risks and people will always be in your corner to help you. Yeah. So there's no chance of failing because everyone is here to help you. So
thank you so much. Thank you. Again, just a reminder before I ask my question to Gautam is, again, we have 3 degree tracks of 2 45-credit degrees, Master of Communication in Digital Media. Heidi is in Master of Communication Communities and Networks, where Sandra's in. And we have a 3rd track, those two degrees are 45 credits. We have another track, Master of Communication and Communication Leadership. It's a 60 credit program, which has a capstone requirement. So for that program, Gautam recently completed that program. So just wanted to remind you of that and then ask my question, Gautam. You were one of the first students. It's a newer program that we started in response to students wanting to do more engaged projects and stay in the program for a bit longer and more structure. You were one of the first students. What was your experience like? Can you tell us a little bit about that and maybe your capstone project?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I loved ComLead so much that I decided to stay around for like 15 more credits. And I think to Ekin's point, it was actually it's a great way to kind of structure whatever interests you have and have like a mentor to support you in a particular project that, let's say, you're interested in. So in my case, right from the 501 class, I was really interested in information security and information reliability, which was one of the biggest issues actually in 2020, like a lot of misinformation around COVID, a lot of like online fraud as well, because a lot of people are online. So I just decided to make a project out of that and create like an awareness campaign for seniors, specifically for seniors, because they're usually the biggest targets of, these cases of online fraud or, being defrauded online with the wrong kind of information or news that they sometimes end up sharing as well. And what was really great about the capstone was the fact that I got to think about this project from a very real world perspective. So my mentor would constantly push me to think about, okay, what are some ways you would actually go about implementing this if it was very much a real world project? Like, where would you get your funding from? Who would your audience be? Where is your research from? How credible is this? And so I got to do a lot of these things, and that's why I continue to have a lot of interest in this particular area. I have definitely teased the idea of doing a PhD, but I don't know if I'm going to eventually do that or not, now that I'm in the industry. So let's see what happens. But yeah, I would say that it's a great way to really develop your critical thinking skills, and also get a lot of one-on-one mentoring for a project that you've been meaning to tackle. And it doesn't just have to be a campaign. It can be a design project. It can be an app. It can be a lot of other things. So I'm sure like a lot of you are a lot more creative than me in this room, and you can think of more creative ideas than just a campaign. So, but the sky is the limit for these projects. So yeah, it's been a really interesting journey.
Thank you so much again. Thank you, Gautam, for your answer. So I'll turn to you in just a minute. I just want to be mindful of our time, and I'll transition to questions in 2 minutes. Before I'm just going to remind you a couple of things that may come up as questions. So that's covered, and then in 2 minutes I'll start, if that's okay, with a question online, and then I'll ask those of you who are here. And again, for those of you who are here, and also those of you who are online, those of you online, we shared the slides, and those of you who are here will share the slides tomorrow too. So you'll have access to everything that we're sharing today. Just a quick reminder, we have 3 degrees that are STEM degrees for international students. That means that they qualify for STEM opt extension, which means that you have, after graduation, the option of an extension of your OPT, which is the training visa. And then 60 credit track takes about 2 years. So the track that Gautam just talked about for full-time students, and 45 credit tracks take about 15 months to complete. Part-time students finish the program in somewhere between 2.5 to 3 years. We do not push anyone to finish in a particular speed if you want to be part-time. And again, And these are the kind of quick descriptions of each of the degrees, but you've heard perspectives and again, communication leadership, the 60 credit degree, more holistic, more kind of like longer and with capstone project, communities and networks with an emphasis on inclusion, ethics, organizational identity, and social impact and engagement in communities. And our original degree, actually, digital media, is the first degree we started with over 20 years ago, which kind of offers a holistic perspective on innovation, entrepreneurship, storytelling, audio-centered approaches to digital media as well. But again, you can take classes no matter which track you pick in any of the areas. So a lot of students take many classes in different focuses. These are just ways of setting intentions as you start the program. Just a final reminder is the priority deadline for our program, January 15th at midnight is when you would submit the applications. We don't review the applications until you submit, so there's no need to submit them early if you don't have to. But make sure to designate your recommenders, and if you need them or the official English test scores, no later than January 1st to make sure that we get them on time. By April 1st is when the decisions are communicated to priority round applicants. Again, in each round, we have another round that starts in April 1. The spots for the program become more limited, so the kind of percentage of acceptances decrease. April 15th is when you have to decide by if you apply by January 15th. So with that, I want to start our Q&A. And I'm going to repeat for those who are online when Matt asks a question on your behalf. Those in the room will be able to hear, and those who are online are able to also see those questions. And I think you may be able to hear a little bit, but if I will reiterate the question, and I'll direct the question to Gretchen, our students, and myself. So whenever you're answering the question, make sure that you have, if I ask you, have the microphone, which is currently in Gautam's hand, and I'll ask that at the time. Matthew, is it okay? Do we have an online question? So let's start with you, and then I'll turn to the room to see if you have a question.
Actually, I think this question is relevant to Gretchen. So this is from Hannah. She's asking what sort of technical or digital skills can one anticipate learning during the program?
That's a broad question. A lot of our classes, as we said, are project-based. And so students often use that opportunity to learn the relevant hard skills they need to actually accomplish the project, which is very similar to what you would experience in the workplace, where people have to continually learn new skills. The skills that we teach here primarily are core skills that you would need. I would call them evergreen skills that you can bring in a lot of different contexts. And learning how to learn those hard skills to complete these projects, especially for clients, are ones that you can take with you when you go. As for hard skills, for example, there are some classes where you would learn, say, a software in the class. For example, we teach storytelling with data, where students learn Tableau in that class. But the teacher would tell you that, like, he actually learned Tableau in order to teach a class for us, because I said, hey, you know what? Students here really want to learn Tableau. And he said, well, that's interesting. I don't use Tableau. And there's situations where you wouldn't use it because you have to make a decision on whether to use it in a particular situation. But sure, if students want to learn this skill as sort of a way for them to all engage together in one class around it, sure, I'll go there. But he would also say it really depends on the context. Storytelling with data is about how are you going to tell a story in a compelling way with data that you're presented using a tool that's appropriate for that. I don't know, that's a long-winded answer, but we're not a vocational training institute. We are a program, a master's program, that is teaching you some foundational evergreen skills that you're going to take as you go on your journey to become communication leaders.
Just to add on that too, though, broadly, if you're interested in UX and content, we of course offer insights into tools like Figma.
Figma is big in our
And
program.
other tools that are used in. We also have a number of foundational video storytelling and audio storytelling courses that introduce you to tools that are used in that domain. So it's specific to the subject of the class, but there's always an overview, but more, of course, thinking about in a higher level, as Gretchen shared as well. Now I'll turn to the room to see if there's someone who'd like to ask a question. And oh, great. Gautam, is it okay to share the microphone?
So, hello, Professor. Actually, I am a student from University of Washington, and my major is education. Yeah, I'm really interested in this program, so I come here. And actually, I have two questions. So, apparently, I'm coming from a different backgrounds. So, yeah, I want to know what qualities do you want to see on the applicants? And the second question is that I want to know the difference between the MCDM and MCCL. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'll answer the first question, and then maybe I'll ask Gautam to answer the second question, if that's okay. Hedy too, if we want to kind of dive into those two. One of the interesting and kind of, I think, fascinating and really exciting aspects of our program is we have students from all types of backgrounds. So it's not you don't have to have a foundational background in a particular area. We have students who have pursued degrees and work in science fields, in nonprofit fields, in education fields. We have actually a number of students who came to our program from that space as well. So that's the vibrance of the community. There's representation of different trajectories, and you get to also learn about those too. And we try to prepare you. So there's no hard requirement of having to have a particular background or having to have a degree. At some point in the history of the program, there was someone who was a medical doctor. And again, a lot of different people who studied, of course, communication. We have a number of former journalists who pursued the program, people who may have already careers in for-profit and nonprofit jobs. So all types of experiences are welcome, and also for, again, early and later career. Gautam, maybe quickly, so that what would you say is the core difference between MCDM and MCCL?
Right. So I can speak to this because I was actually in both programs at one point, or like I started with MCDM and then I switched to MCCL because it was an option that became available only later.
Which you can do once in the program, yeah.
So I essentially thought that the main difference is that, first of all, the format is definitely a bit longer. You have 60 credits in MCCL and 45 credits in MCDM. And, you kind of focus a little more on a specialization. So it's like an MCDM, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have to specialize in one of the 8 specializations that they just spoke of. But in MCCL, you need to have a specialization, which means 15 credits towards a particular specialization. And of course, you have your core requirements like a law and ethics class of 5 credits and research methods class, as well as a professional writing class, I think. And then your capstone. So I think MCCL is a little bit more rigorous. And, if you're really interested in pursuing, let's say, a specific project, and you want like a mentor for that, and you want to pursue something a little more deeply, MCCL would certainly be a good option. And I think just being in the program a little bit longer is never really a bad thing because, you always meet people in this program. And you're always like exploring new things. So I would say that's the main difference. It's like the format as well as, what you're looking for. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
So, Hedy, do you want to say a little briefly about your MCDM option? What do you find appealing about MCDM? Which is Masters of Communication in Digital Media, and then the other is a Master of Communication and Communication Leadership. The one that Gautam talked about is our 60 credit version. Go ahead.
I would say MCDM is more about digital, and communication. MCCL is more about communication, more about the evergreen skills like Gretchen just mentioned. For MCDM, if you want to specialize or your future career want to be in like UX, product, digital marketing or branding, anything related to digital, that would be a good choices. And I personally took storytelling with data, UX research and strategy, UX studio, all very, tech heavy classes, which I really love. So if you want to explore that direction, I would say that's a good choice.
Thank you so much for your question. I'll turn it over to Matt to see if you have a question online that you'd like to ask us. And again, thank you so much for those of you who are online too, who are joining us. We have another 5 or so minutes of Q&A here. And then online, I know that Heather and Jazz are there, so they're answering questions. And for those of you who are in person, we'll move on to a reception in the next room where we have food and beverages for you all. And then we'll be able to all answer your questions one-on-one too. So if there are things that you haven't heard from us tonight, we'd be happy to do so in a more interpersonal manner. Matthew, what's the next question?
I think this is relevant for you. This is a question for Jan. He's asking if their college GPA is below 3.0, if they're still an eligible applicant.
So we understand that there are different trajectories and life situations that may get you. So the 3.0 is the requirement of your GPA from past institutions, whatever point in your life, for us to consider. However, there has been cases you can still apply. We have to do a petition for that. And we have had a number of students who've successfully passed that petition phase. It's what I would recommend is in your application, if you could address briefly your kind of like reasons and your trajectory, we can use that to submit a justification. So the answer is yes, you can still apply. It just requires another layer of process for applications. Thank you very much for your question. I'm going into the room. Go ahead, please. Yeah, you. And I'll bring the microphone so those online can hear you as well.
Hello, Professor and everybody. It's a simple question, but I haven't been stepped foot in a university in a while. So in the beginning, you spoke about anyone that has communication as a backbone in their career. Can you define what is communication? What is it? Public speaking? Is it human resources? Is it branding? Like, how do you define this concept that links all these different specializations?
Thank you so much for your question. Actually, I tried to do that in my class in 501. When you come into the program, we start with kind of like setting up a common agenda, right? So you will arrive and you will leave with multiple trajectories after the program. To your point too, right? We have so many different options as communication professionals. But in the program, we understand it in 2 ways. On the one hand, we hone in some of our core classes and core conversations those kind of core skills, as I've shown the kind of those upcoming skills from listening to storytelling to practices that we do in our organizations when we're trying to make sense of being together in the same space, right? From there, and I'm giving you a broader answer, those are communication in a particular sense that's extremely essential today, right? When we're trying to make sense of artificial intelligence, it's conversational. So it's very much embedded in this everyday practice that we partake in. We built that foundation alongside the tools that make access and reach to communication possible across contexts. So from thinking about content creation, as I mentioned, to thinking about creating campaigns, those are more kind of tools that allow us to connect to different audiences internally and externally. So we try to actually tackle both in our program, right? In our foundational courses that you all take with everyone, we still want you to be great communicators. So from public speaking to your point, to collaborating, to listening, to articulating how you feel about a situation, writing, all of those things, we hone in on those as well as introducing you to tools and practices that make sense of that broad landscape. I hope that helps answers your questions. Thank you so much. Matthew, do we have a...
I think this could be relevant for Gautam. Jasper is asking, most likely, if you're doing this program part-time and you have you're working at the same time, how that experience is, because he is interested in doing the master's program, but he has a full-time job as well. So if you could share something on that.
Okay, so that's a great question. And I would also say that I knew a couple of students who were working full-time and attending ComLead classes part-time. So I think the biggest advantage here is that a lot of I guess a majority of the classes happen in the evening and or in weekends on Saturdays and stuff. So I think it's easy to sort of balance that out in terms of timings. But in terms of workload, it can get intense for sure, especially if you're taking a 5 credit class. So it does require some planning and all that. But I would also say that whoever I've spoken to who said that, they did part-time classes and a full-time job, they kind of said that they spoke to their employers about it, and there was sort of that expectation set about work goals and college and school goals and stuff. And it was generally a pretty good experience for them. Personally, I was working on campus part-time and also doing classes full-time in some of the quarters. So I would say that was definitely a bit of a challenge. But here I am. I mean, I made it. I survived. I feel like I even put on some weight in the process, not lost weight. So I think it's doable. I think it's very much like manageable. Requires a lot of planning, but it's doable.
And on that note, I would say about 20 to 30% of our students are working professionals. So again, at any given time, it increases too because students have jobs and their careers, of course, evolve throughout their journey. It's very much built if you have a daytime job to be able to come to the program. If you don't have a daytime job, it's still totally fine. You have multiple opportunities and can engage, but it includes those who are and it imagines those who have responsibilities before they come to their classes. So that's just a quick note. I need one final question from the audience here, and then we'll have one final question online. And again, I'll wrap up with a couple of ways of connecting with us. But those of you who are here too, you'll have ample opportunities. Is it okay, Gautam, to bring the microphone right there? Thank you so much. And so that those online can hear the question too. Thank you so much for your questions, everyone.
Hello. So I saw a statistic on your guys' website that was talking about how 25% of current students are first generation, and I'm very proudly first gen. That's like a huge identity for me, and I think that's an amazing statistic. So I was just wondering, like, what resources or like what kind of experience or opportunities do you have for first gen students? Because I'm a first gen for undergrad, and now I'm thinking about pursuing my master's, which is huge because like a ton of people don't do that. So for first gen. So I was just wondering kind of what that experience can look like for first gen students and that kind of thing.
So I would say on that, thank you very much for your question, and thank you all for all your questions. We actually imagine all our students' journeys. UW has multiple communities that are first-gen staff, students, and faculty. So there are actually days we recognize first-gen students. But within the program too, we have no assumption. We try to create a program that's accessible to all and all walks of life. And how we assure that is to couple your class taking with customized and one-on-one conversations and engagement with us, staff and faculty, and to ensure that whatever question you have an open and welcoming space where you can ask that. Again, our core advisor, Heather Werkel, who would love to be here, but unfortunately is not feeling well, will be there throughout your journey. We'll connect you to resources. Jazz Espiritu also online today and helping those online. He will connect you to campus resources, have open hours, likewise with all faculty and students as well. Again, there's no assumption in our program about what journey you come from, and we're here all to support you and to make sure that you navigate the campus and the program to the best way possible to wherever your journey is taking you. Hope this helps.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last question from online, Matthew, if that's okay. Is there a final question that you'd like to ask from online that hasn't been answered yet? I know that Heather and Jazz are actively answering questions online as well.
I think this is very general, but it's more about, would you prefer the number of students in each of the 3 programs to be roughly same, or would you admit students based on their qualifications for the program?
So we try to keep the acceptance rate is similar in all degrees. More or less, it's about 30% of applications make it in. We're a highly competitive program at this point, but we welcome you all, and we're really thrilled to see your applications. But one thing that I'll say is there's different experiences in terms of size. So our MCDM degree has about 80 to 90 students, and we try to keep that program large. As Heidi and also Gautam mentioned, it's kind of an experience where we want to make sure that you pick different classes, but you have more flexibility. But our MCCL degree and MCDM degrees, we keep small intentionally because they have a lot of one-on-one advising requirements. And also we offer, again, one-on-one time. We do for MCDM students too, so don't get me wrong, but we try to customize, say, capstone experiences for MCCN students, kind of more small group classes. For those who prefer that, I would say MCCN and MCCL have more of that experience. And we try to keep those programs at 20 to 25 students per year, more or less, so that they are, again, smaller classes, smaller cohorts. You arrive with everyone. So the size of the whole cohort is somewhere between 100 and 110 students per year is what we aim for. But within that, we have a larger program and then smaller programs for those who want smaller classes and more customized experiences. With that, what I'm going to ask us to do is, for those of you who are in the room, in just a minute, I'm going to ask you to move to 126, which is the room next door. We'll have food, and if they're available, our students to answer your questions, Matthew, Gretchen, and I as well, and we'll be there to answer your questions. But there's also food and nourishment and more students next door, so you can kind of have more one-on-one time. For those of you who are joining us online, we have a number of admissions events coming up. I know Heather and Jazz are sharing with you too. We'll share the recording. Book a time with us to talk to us one-on-one as well online. And comlead@uw.edu is the email you would reach out to us. And we will also share with you our social channels online where you can find us as well. But thank you all so much. And again, we'll continue in the next room for those of you in person. Thank you for taking the time to find out more about our program. I really appreciate it.